Now, one question we always like to ask, and that question is, can homes be green? Can they be sustainable if they're not accessible to all? It's a question we always like to ask. And one thing that is very important is to discuss when we are putting together new construction plans, both for single family, multifamily, mixed use, you name it, as well as home improvement projects or new construction that we think through simple ways that we might not have thought of to incorporate accessibility to ensure access to everybody, no matter what barriers or challenges they face. And we believe that truly fits within the health pillar of our five pillars of green building. And so stick around here and learn a little bit more about how and why and what to look for to incorporate accessibility within our housing sector. Now, before we get started, I want to say a huge thanks to one of our sponsors, Architectural Resource. They're celebrating their 35 years this year, and they have been working with GHI as members and now sponsors long even before my time, leading the way on sustainable and green building residential design for homeowners, both new construction and single family. They're serving throughout the country and can help you achieve more sustainable results in your designs. So check them out over at architecturalresource.com. So with that, I am excited to do this session here today, and welcome to Zero Step Accessibility Guidelines for Construction. This session is brought to you by the Green Home Institute. The Green Home Institute is a nonprofit with a mission to empower people to make healthier and more sustainable choices in the renovation and construction of the places we live. Today, I will be your moderator. My name is Brett Little, and I am the education manager here. Now, this course is approved for multiple continuing education units, including two of the pillars in our Certified Green Home Professional designation, that is materials and health. AIA Health, Welfare, and Safety may make it applicable to your state-based design or contractor license. Now, before we get started, it's important to know, where does accessibility fit within residential green building? A lot of times there are provisions within the green building certifications, such as enterprise community, who will actually require that a lot of these accessibility features be met in a certain subset of units. And then if you want to get more points within their program, you can do that. And the Home Innovations Lab, through the National Green Building Standard, has a whole checklist, a la carte menu of things you can do optionally to incorporate more accessibility, so you can look at that right within their program. And then our Green Star Homes program is looking at giving out our accessibility badge in alignment with the Zero Step program that we're going to talk about today. Now, where LEED fits in with all of this is under a pilot credit called Design for Accessibility. And the way pilot credits work is they're credits they're testing out to see if they want to codify them within the program. And so you actually have to pre-register any pilot credit you want before you go to certify a project and answer a few set of questions to help USGBC and GBCI understand how it fits in. So that's one thing to know about pilot credits. So this design for accessibility works on multifamily, single family 4.1, and essentially what it boils down to, without getting into all the minutia of it, is that you're looking to achieve the ANSI A117.1 standard for type A within a certain percentage of the dwelling units within the property, or of course 100% if it's a single family home. And so the nice thing is that the program we're going to talk about, Zero Step, today is in mostly 95% or so alignment with ANSI. And so there's just a few deviations, and we'll talk about those a little bit briefly. We're also going to also highlight briefly within the session one of our pending LEED version 4.1 gold or version 4 gold quadplex projects in West Michigan. And what we always like to do is learn from mistakes. And unfortunately, they neither achieved Zero Step nor did they achieve the LEED credit, but they were so close. And they were so close to lead step zero. And so everyone is always willing to learn where they're coming in. And well, hopefully you can take that to learn, how to achieve these things. We'll also be giving you a handout on that project's zero step checklist. And so you can access the checklist and then it has the points filled out within the project. So I'm uploading that handout as well. So I will get into those, but more important than that, we need to talk through what is accessibility and how does it fit in with zero steps. So with that, I am going to hand it to our speaker here today, um, Judy Seegert from Disability Advocates. So Judy, glad you could join us and welcome.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. Unfortunately, my teammate Nicolette is unable to join me today, but that's okay. We'll just power through this great presentation that she and I have given many times, and I hope that you enjoy it. So I'm going to just get my screen up here for everybody, and Brett will field questions during the presentation, and we'll stop and answer those as we go so that we are not leaving out anybody who's got a question. So, all right, the title is, as Brett said, Building Great Communities, Inclusive Design, and Homes for All. I'd like to talk a little bit about where I work. I work for Disability Advocates. We're a center for independent living. I won't talk too much about what that is, but we were founded in 1981. A little bit more than half of our staff and board of directors have some form of disability. We are who we serve. Our service area for our Center for Independent Living spans Kent, Ionia, Montcalm, Mecosta, and Osceola counties in Michigan. Our mission, as you can see here, is to work alongside people with disabilities as they seek to lead self-directed lives and to advocate for accessible and welcoming communities, which fits very nicely with what we're talking about here today. We last year celebrated the 35th anniversary of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act. There's some great old photos here from some of the historic events that took place back then that have really changed a lot of barriers for people, and things just keep improving. And we're going to talk about more ways to improve it through building. I want to talk a little bit about accessibility versus universal design, because a lot of people think those are one and the same, and they are not actually. The second half of our vision and mission statement is that our communities are accessible and welcoming to all. Accessibility kind of says we added something so that you can come in. Universal design says we expected you and you belong here. If we just focus on accessibility, a lot of people tend to be disinvited or diswelcomed. The message tends to be you were an afterthought or you were a burden. So we prefer universal design where things are designed as accessible, or it's for everybody right from the beginning. So what do we mean by accessible housing? Who are we trying to make this accessible to? And this kind of encompasses everything, those with physical disabilities, intellectual, cognitive disabilities. I'm not going to read the whole slide, but really this is about making housing accessible for everybody inherently. Brett, do you want to do a poll here?
Yes, the poll should be coming up right now.
All right. We thought it would be fun to incorporate some questions here. So, how many of you feel that your current home is ready for you to live in if any changes in your abilities were to happen?
All right. We'll close it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Are you able to see those results?
Yeah, look at that. So 80% of the audience thinks, no, not ready. A great 20% of you do feel like you're ready, and congratulations on that, because it's not that easy. It's really not that easy to get your home ready for that. Um, and you're going to see a couple pictures of my own home coming up here, and I'm not ready. So I'm right there with you, and I'm an occupational therapist. So Uh, so let's talk about that. Is there really a market need for accessible housing? And this is pretty accurate. One in four, according to our poll, that one in four of us have a disability that affects how we interact with our environment to perform daily tasks. And I have to tell you, with the people that I work with that are living with disabilities, a lot of them aren't ready. They're trying to live in environments that are really suboptimal for what they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And they are who have taught me the most. Only 0.15% of all homes in the United States are wheelchair accessible. That's just a quote I thought it was necessary to put in here. But please don't think of universal design and accessibility just about a chair user. There are so many other reasons to make a space usable than just being in a chair or using a chair. Sorry. But let's talk about the need for this, the need for the accessible housing. It's only growing as we age. This is an old graphic. This is from 2016, but trying to run some more current numbers, not much different. You can see that there's going to be a lot more of us that are aging as opposed to the percentage of population that is younger. So we're all going to need some place to live that is usable for us, or at least you know, more to choose from. How's that? So this is about the poll that we just did. How many considerations have been given to modifications to need, for us to stay at home? 21%, none. 26 a little, 38% some, and 15% a lot. Although all of us think it's important to age in place, or at least 88% of us think so. I kind of like to talk to the people who don't think it's important to age in place and see what they were thinking. This is a graphic that we grabbed from House, and talks about what needs were addressed during the bathroom renovations in 2023 versus 2021. And you can see how this is, the future is projected to just be more and more of preparing for those changing needs. And the needs of aging household members is the top priority. And we are seeing more and more multi-generational homes as people are choosing to have their aging parents or another aging family member move in with them rather than move to a care facility. We'd like to talk a little bit about universal design, some key terms with some key differences about accessibility. Some of the concepts of universal design that are important to understand are that the space is visitable, adaptable, barrier free, and has the universal design. And we're going to talk a little bit about each one of those things. Visitable homes have three core features that allow individuals with mobility disabilities to comfortably visit or occupy that home temporarily. The zero step entrance, and it talks a little bit more about some of the specifics about what that means. Ground floor doorways provide 32 inches of clear space. We prefer 36. Ground floor hallways provide at least 36 inches of clear width. We like 48, but that's just our preference. There has to be access to a ground floor bathroom, providing sufficient depth within the bathroom for that chair user to enter and close the door. And basic access to a full bath is preferable. Here's another poll. Brett? Oh, here we go. Here's the other poll. If you were a wheelchair user, how many of your friends' homes could you successfully visit, including using their bathroom?
All right, let's give everyone 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There you go.
Okay, well, good. At least we have at least one accessible friend's home. That's pretty good. It gives you something to think about, though, for sure. This is the back of my home. We were going to talk about visitable a little bit, and this is just a great example. When I bought this house, I was not in the home mod space, and the I can't believe it. You know, we did the thing that a lot of people do when you buy a house. You just fall in love with where it is, and you look at the 1840 staircase inside and say the stairs will be good for us. Like that is ridiculous. We're looking for a house right now, and I'm telling you, we're having a very hard time finding something that I think we could use for aging in place. So my look at those back steps. My father-in-law can't get into my home at all. We have chair user friend. He can't come to the gatherings at our home unless they're outdoors, and we hope he doesn't have to go to the bathroom. That's just horrible. So it's not visitable. It might be adaptable, but we shall see. If we can't find a house to buy, I'll let you know if we were able to adapt it. So adaptable spaces may not be readily accessible at first, but they possess certain features that can achieve improved physical accessibility where is needed, such as a parallel approach to sinks and bathroom vanities, removable base cabinets. We're going to see a great example of that in one of Brett's slides coming up future, and blocking for future grab bars. We'll see a lot of homes on the market with grab bars already in place, kind of in those standard locations, but there's no blocking elsewhere if somebody needs a grab bar that's more suitable to them and their, physical needs. So that can be unfortunate. This was marketed as an accessible bathroom. The shower door swinging in the wrong direction. You can see that if someone was in a chair, that's opening the wrong. But this is adaptable. But this is not a curbless shower, and not removable base cabinets under those sinks. So not adaptable. Kind of causes problems for someone in a chair. But it was marketed as an accessible bathroom. Barrier free. Typically, this is a term to mean that that site or building meets those very basics. And we're talking Michigan here. So the Michigan Barrier Free Code and the ADA. And this only addresses physical disabilities. So unfortunately, there's a lot of people left out here. All right, universal design. This is the design of products and environments to be usable by all people to the greatest extent possible without the need for specialized design. Inherently building and designing right from the start so that it is usable for everyone. Here's some basic principles of universal design: that it's equitable use, flexibility in use, simple, intuitive use, and perceptible information. And a lot of those are a little bit hard to roll off the tongue and not necessarily easily understood, but we'll have some examples. And some more principles are the tolerance for error, low physical effort, and size and space for approach and use. Some of you might have heard these principles before. But let's jump forward a little bit to the turning space. The 2017 ANSI standards changed and increased the size of that turning space. We are bigger people now, and chairs are bigger. And so we need more space for that. That circle has expanded to 67 inches in diameter, and only 10 inches of it is permitted to overlap knee and toe clearance. The previous T-shaped turn was 60 by 60 square with the 12 by 24 cutouts. And we have some options here for a T-shaped turn. So I'm really sorry that this is a little bit blurry. This was the best that we could do to get this clear. Hopefully you can see this. You can see the differences here in that overlap of the knee and toe clearance on the left versus the right. This is so much better. I know we were smaller, but not that much smaller in 2009, but chairs continue to get big as well. And here are some nice options for the improved T-shaped turn. This is a better graphic, I think, for the clear floor space. Here's that 48 versus 52 what a difference that makes for an individual. And another nice graphic showing the differences in the different mobility devices: a manual chair, power chair, and a scooter. Hopefully you can see that a little bit. Again, some of these numbers are quite small, but I believe we'll be sharing the slides if you're interested in that. All right, some general considerations. And a lot of this is more functionally based, some of this information. Some of it might seem like common sense and that we all might already know that, but a lot of people don't think about some of these things, like, the fact that muted colors and natural light reduce stress. Having fabric of some sort on the wall helps reduce the noise. And everybody likes a good bench by their door to help that transition, and keeping things clean and uncluttered, or having enough space when you're designing it so that it's easier to keep uncluttered and clear. That helps everybody. Here are some examples of that simple, intuitive, and flexible controls. The motion sensing pull down faucet, smoke alarms with visual and auditory cues. Those are great for anyone with hearing impairment. And rocker switches, what a great example of something that's simple. Remote control thermostats, or today's, Nest type thermostats are easy to. And then smart technology would talk a little bit more about this. Ooh, another poll. How many of you feel that your current home would be easy to modify in the following areas of your home? This is a multiple choice. So think about these areas in your home and see which ones you think would be easy to change.
All right, let's give it another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There are the results.
Well, I'm impressed with this. I think except the bathroom. Look, the bathroom is always the hardest one, because it does require quite a bit to make that accessible. And yeah, I mean, it depends on the size of your bedroom to see how easy that is to modify. And it's hard to think of things that you might need to modify. Uh, a bedroom, we just don't think of a place that needs that much. But I mean, some people have to add a ceiling lift, and some people have to add a lot of reinforcements. So yeah, there's some great things to consider there. Um, Here's some considerations for the garage and the home entrance. So look at this. This is a zero-step garage. Sometimes it's hard to see this with the shadows on this slide, but you can see this is a zero-step entry from the garage into the home, which for so many years was thought to be, I know, right? It's great. Thought to be impossible. Everything's going to just drain into the house. And no, it's very, very doable, and it's wonderful for so many reasons. Are we having some problems?
Well, no. So, and if you're still, maybe you're going to get into transitions, but there was a concern about these entrances, about the transition, and unfortunately, the question isn't displaying. I cannot see it, no matter how hard I try. But I did just read it, and they were kind of, concerned about the sort of carpeting transition. I don't know if you can speak to that a little bit from that entrance.
Sure. I don't think that anybody's using carpet right there. I mean, I think that we're typically seeing in the zero step homes that there's a hard surface there with probably a throw rug like this one. Maybe that wasn't the question. I'll see if I can see the chat now. It's back. Let me take a
No,
look.
that's okay. You can keep moving forward. So we'll
Oh,
look
all
at it later.
right. All right. All right. All right. One of our teammates has a zero step home, and one of these photos is her home. And I don't think that's her garage, but she has lived there now for well over 15 years and has not had any problems with her garage. So here's that zero step front door, no step at the front door. And we love these 36 wide doors with the side lights. Those are great for anyone to see who's at that front door. 42-inch hallway is outstanding. I think earlier I accidentally said 48, but I guess 48 would be even more luxurious, right? Here's that nice wide 36-inch door, makes for easier maneuvering. I just saw somebody yesterday that had a 22-inch wide bathroom door. I'm used to seeing 24 inches, but 22 was a new one for me. So really narrow. Uh, and I'm not sure if we're going to be able to widen it, but we're looking into it. So here are some other ways to upgrade your doors. Twist knob with multiple locks are really hard. So that key card system that we all got used to over the years when hotels went to that, I don't really see that in very many homes. There's lever handles are really nice with the push button locks, but things have evolved quite a bit since this slide was taken, and I don't have any great new modern features, but there are so many more options than that twist knob and the multiple locks. We're going to talk a little bit about the kitchen here. Variable height counters is very, very important. So you can see here that the counters that are attached to the wall that are, by the sink, that's a little bit higher than what we've got here for this island that accommodates a lot of different needs. More examples here of multiple height countertops. It looks really nice. Look at these different heights here. This is our home accessibility center in this bottom right picture here, and we have a few different height countertops in here, a few different working surfaces to accommodate a lot of different needs. We're going to talk about that knee clearance underneath the sink and those removable base cabinets. This is one of our consumers, and this is a modification that we made for her. And we, of course, have permission to share her image here, but look how happy she is now that she's got that space underneath her sink. It's helped her tremendously. She was actually starting to develop some shoulder issues from having to try to reach all the time for that faucet. So this really helped her out a lot. Very nice. Brett, did you want to share something at this point?
Well, I will since you're asking. I wasn't going to, but oh, I'm sorry. You're at the I got caught off guard here. You're at the
The removable base cabinets.
yes, yes, thank you. Because there was a question, and but I'm like, we don't have to get to it right now. But I see what you're saying. So sorry, I completely got
No,
caught
no,
up.
I'm sorry. I caught you off guard here.
No, no, I just multitasking. So yeah, no, thanks for reminding me. So going back to the lead case study here for the pilot credit we're discussing for design for adaptability. This is that particular project that we're picking on here who failed both lead and zero step, but came so close. I just want to say they were so close. And this is one of the only two issues they came with. And so if you just look right there, and maybe you can just, and Judy, you just spoke to that, but again, you have to be able to get under access under the sink. And so I believe that would just be, correct me if I'm wrong, Judy, but that would be the elimination of the cupboards directly under the sink, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So, again, simple thing when you're doing your design for your new homes, just don't put that in there. And in fact, I think saying don't do something usually means less money. I'd right. Would that be fair to say?
That's a nice thought always, right? And there are
Yeah.
ways you can see, when I go back to my slide, you can see it the way that it was done it doesn't look terrible.
hmm Yeah. So that was just one thing. And that to point out that under sink issue was not an ANSI thing, but it was one of the things that held them. So it wouldn't have been associated with lead, but it was associated with zero step. So
Zero step. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All right, just some more kitchen features that are nice for not only universal design, but any design. These nice, easy to reach pull out drawers. Gone are the days of trying to stack all your lids on a little shallow shelf and then they all fall out all over the place. The drawers are really nice. Here's an example of this Rev-A-Shelf. We love the Rev-A-Shelf. It's great for a seated user or anyone, with limited reach to be able to pull it down. It's hydraulic and reach everything there. Um, Refrigerators have sure come a long way with these nice drawers. Doesn't work for everybody, but I think it's a great thing to consider for your design. And who doesn't love a pantry with these pull-out shelves here? It's a nice big pantry. Glass front cabinets make it easy to find items. Now, this isn't going to work for everybody, and we don't necessarily recommend it for every single cabinet or cupboard in your kitchen. It certainly would not work for mine because it would look terrible, but it's nice to have at least one or two of those glass front cabinets, especially for somebody with memory impairment, so that you can put frequently used items in there for people to be able to see easily and retrieve. I think that works a lot better than labeling your cabinets for people with memory issues because it's designed inherently to be used by everybody. I've had a couple people make comments that they would not like it and would find it too visually distracting. So again, it doesn't work for everybody, but it's nice for most. Here are some other options for storing some utensils within sight and easy to find. Um, This reminds me of college where I think we had 300 of everybody's different spoons that their parents were trying to get rid of, but at least it was easy to see and within reach. I went to one of the appliance stores recently, and I found that today's refrigerators are just getting cooler and cooler, with some of the smart features and some of the accessibility features. But we tend to showcase a couple different kinds of refrigerators for universal design. These bottom drawers or bottom freezers are great for a seated user because they have easy access, but they are not great for someone with a back issue. So, I mean, it depends on your person on what's going to work best for them. Induction cooktops are great. They prevent burns. You do have to get all new cookware, but who doesn't like new cookware? And it's only hot when the cookware is on it, so that's nice. Front mounted controls on appliances are you see that more and more now, so that those are a lot easier to access. There's just a couple examples of that. This is an older slide. It shows, somebody made this beautiful custom pedestal for their front loaders. Most front loaders these days come with an optional additional purchase of that platform with the drawer on it. It's an extra cost, so if you don't want to do that, you can have something like this. It just depends on the person whether these are going to be the best choice or not, but these are just some options for differences in your laundry room. I think we embedded another poll here.
And even before we get to that poll, somebody pointed out, and I can throw it open while we're talking here though, but somebody pointed out under the sink mentioning retractable cabinet doors with a clear width. Is that something that could be possible?
I haven't seen that, but it sounds great to look into that. All
Uh,
right, let's see where everybody thinks the most falls in the home occur. Do we have results yet?
let's give everyone 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You're correct. Most of the falls in the home do occur in the bathroom, particularly when people are getting in and out of the shower. That's where we see it the most. We do see a lot of falls in unusual places too. A lot of people fall filling the bird feeders on their deck. Like that's just something I have seen again and again and again. So we'll have to talk about how to modify that area. We're going to talk about the bathroom a little bit. Wall reinforcements in the shower and around the toilet. So this is the minimum. We recommend a little bit more when you're designing a new build, if it's possible. I don't know if you can visualize this, but right around shoulder length down to like knee area so that you can put a grab bar anywhere needed. But typically what we see is that blocking right in that mid area. Think about potential ceiling reinforcements for a ceiling lift in the bathroom or the bedroom. It's not something that everybody thinks about having in the future of their life, but if you have got that blocking there, if a change occurs, it's all set and ready to go. Here's that walk-in roll-in shower that we prefer over that, small curved shower that I showed you in that other slide. This is just nice because you are able to just roll in if you're needing to. And believe me, many, many, many people cannot lift their leg over that small lip into the, what they call a easy threshold shower. It's too hard for a lot of people. We prefer to not use the built-in shower seats because you have so much more flexibility with just a shower chair or of any other design. Typically, the built-in fold-down benches are in the way if something else is needed in the future, and they're not typically located near the controls. You can see this one's designed really nice, though. It's by the control so that the seated user on the bench doesn't have to walk across their shower to get to the controls. And we like here, this one does not have a linear drain. Neither does the other one. I prefer a linear drain. It just makes for less issues if there's someone trying to stand and there's, some drainage issues. So we hope there's not going to be, but there usually is at some point. Here's an example of some offset controls in this tub so that someone else can get to these controls and not have to lean way across to get to them, or someone else can do the controls for somebody. That's what I was trying to say. Oh, look at this beautiful thing. This is one of our consumers. Um, I love everybody's decor. We get to see all kinds of great stuff. So this is a before what the person was doing for showering, and worked out okay. They've got the tub transfer bench there that they sit down on the outside, transfer in. But we were able to, oops, sorry about that, fund that roll-in curbless shower, and she's using the same bench, which is great. This one works well for her, and the grab bar placement is for her, and it's worked out really well. I don't love that the controls are really far away, but I think that this person has a caregiver that helps them with that. That's the nice thing about these big shower units is a caregiver can get in there and help the person if they need to. There's enough room in there. Toilet height is something to consider. These comfort height toilets are fantastic. They don't work for everybody, though. If you've got shorter people, they are too high. There are a lot of products out there to raise a toilet seat that look a lot better than they used to. This one on the left is a great example of that. That looks a lot better than the plastic donuts that kind of slid around and are really a little bit terrifying to sit on. And just one of the products that we have that we can put in place for grab bars on the side if you need that. Here's a nice, easy to approach bowl shaped sink. Anybody can get under that with a chair. Some people like to sit on their walker and scoot up to that if they have that walker with the seat. Notice those beautiful rocker switches. Those are great and really good lighting. We'll talk a little bit about the bedroom.
And then real quick, I wanted to, and now I was ready this time, right? Um, so here's another area where there is deviation between ANSI and zero step, and it's very specific to this project. Now, they passed the zero step requirements on this project, this lead project, pending project, by having the grab bars. Um, um, and only one of the units had the vertical grab bar. The other three units did not, as you can see in this picture on the right. So this is more than compliance for zero step. It's not any extra points to have that vertical grab bar. But for ANSI, for the lead designed for accessibility pilot credit, you have to have that vertical grab bar in there. And so again, the project ultimately failed because only one of the four units had it in there. So they'd have to install the other ones. But again, successful for zero step. And I don't know if you wanted to add anything, more to that, Judy.
Yeah, I mean, typically in the real world, working with people of a lot of different abilities or challenges, I've only had somebody use that grab bar behind the toilet if they have to mount the toilet facing
Mm,
forward. And that
mm,
is, I don't see that very often.
mm,
So I've always wondered about it, and it's so huge, but it's fine. I prefer the angled grab
mm,
bar. Over here on the right, you see that vertical grab bar. Typically, that's not of great help to most people,
mm,
and sometimes it'll work out, but we like the angled grab bar. I mean, if you're seated on the
mm,
toilet and you're trying to get up,
mm.
you're not necessarily going to benefit from this combo that you've got going on. But that's just me as an occupational therapist spouting off my opinion, but it's based on real life things I see,
Thank you.
of course. Sorry about that delay, folks. We're going to talk about some concepts for the closet. Not everybody can have a great big fancy closet like this, and not all of your building designs will be able to accommodate this. But there are a lot of products out there to improve the ability to access things. Reachable, adjustable shelves and storage. This is a great example of that. And these units that are custom designed are so easy to have things where you people can access their hanging clothing and other things. And look at all that room in there. Super nice. We always want to think about those windows and curtain or blind controls being easy to reach from a seated position or standing. And now we're going to talk a little bit about, isn't universal design substantially more expensive? And this is where we want to do another poll. Actually, if memory serves, we weren't going to do this question. So I am really sorry about that. So just think about how much you think how much more do you think it costs to do universal design? Some of you probably already know. I've got some data here. It's from 2023, but it's from one of our local builders here, Heartland Builders. They do a lot of zero step universal design. And look at that total additional cost down there is it's really minimal. Um, Back in 2023, it was at the high end, just under 3 grand. So it's not that much more. I don't know why it was ever thought that it was going to be that much more. That the zero step threshold is really where your biggest cost is going to come in. Um, but it shouldn't be something that steers people away from doing it. So, but look at the difference in look at what long-term care costs are. This is probably an older graphic, but the cost of a nursing home is just going to continue to climb. And we all know about all the challenges that there are for hiring caregivers to work and provide great care, and which is why we keep seeing all the families having their loved ones moving in with them, putting an addition onto their home so that they can have their loved ones stay with them. I just talked to a lady the other day who just had a fall in the shower, and she ended up with two surgeries and was in rehab for 6 months. Of course, her insurance didn't want her to stay that long, so this was private pay. And she said it was $12,000 a month or something like that out of her pocket to stay in rehab. So because her home was just not designed for her to be in it with the kind of injuries that she had. I was just horrified to hear that. She's about crying, telling me about that. So some key takeaways about inclusive design when it's well done is it's in demand. It's beautiful and appealing. It's not clinical in style. It's cost saving, not cost draining, and it's designed to accommodate everyone right from the get go. It's not looking at someone as, hey, we added something to our home so that you could get in. It's just universally accessible right from the get go. Here's that checklist that Brett was referring to a little bit earlier, a piece of it anyway, and kind of just a one pager about universal design that talks about some of the just the high level key takeaways about universal design. We used to have the zero step guidelines on Kindle. We are happy to share that with you, of course. And this is our home accessibility center here at Disability Advocates. We love visitors. It's a great place if you live locally near Grand Rapids, Michigan, to bring your clientele to show them how beautiful and easy universal design can be. Just some more examples. This is some of our volunteers doing some cleaning of our donated equipment and some more of our spaces, and a link to our website, of course. That was a pretty high level overview of zero step and universal design. I was not monitoring the chat at all. Brett, do you see any questions that we should
Well,
address right off the bat?
yep, just a couple more quick notes here on lead as a reminder. So again, where zero step fits in is in alignment very closely to the ANSI 117A Type A program or regulations, will you? And so by doing the zero step program, you're going to mostly line up with it. So this is that case study we were talking about. Again, it's a pending LEED Gold 4 quadplex project. It's not multifamily, it's just, quadplex and all electric property. And if you can just see right on the entrance here, they've got that zero step entrance right there, which is sort of the key signature. And so what we did, of course, is we worked with disability advocates and we went through and just documented every little single item that had accessibility in it. And our goal is to kind of obviously disability advocates, you all are here in Kent County. You can't reach the rest of everybody else around the world. But the goal is to get our green home inspectors, our green raters, all of you who are working with us trained in your own areas and use, visual documentation to work with disability advocates to say, hey, even if you're not in West Michigan, we can still collect this information and help you kind of know what you're looking for and figure this out. And so that was the process. So, we went through the normal lead inspection. We added this sort of addenda of the accessibility inspection. And even before that, in the design stage, early on, that is most important. That's where everything is make or break, right? You can't add accessibility after it's already built. So when you're in that lead design charrette meeting, what was so great is folks from, your team there, Judy, came to the meetings, sat down, reviewed the plans multiple times, said, here are the things you need to change. And quite frankly, they implemented so many of those changes that again, it got them so close to zero step silver and just shy of the lead credit. And that happens, right? We all try to do our best and somebody misses something, we get busy. They were trying to get the home all electric, trying to be all the other lead things, right? It's a whole thing. So, they did their best, I would say, and that's okay. And we learned. And so that's the process, getting folks like disability advocates in early in your design meetings, giving you that feedback on how to do this because you can't go back. You can retrofit it, but that's expensive, and you don't want to do that on a new construction project. So, with that, we will wrap up and get to questions. We have plenty of time for questions. Before we get to those questions, the answer is yes. This session is being recorded, and you can go to our YouTube channel here in the next week to receive the recording. Or you can go there right now, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell, and you'll receive an instant update when it is available. For those of you watching this in the future, not right now, but on demand, take your quiz with an 80% passing rate to receive your continuing education units. For you here today, as long as you were here for the entire CU approved hour, you will receive your certificates from certs at gutenbergcerts.com. You can log into your account with your email to find that and take that survey that pops up at the end. That's where you put in your AIA number and give us your feedback. How did we do? We want to hear from you. As always, before we get into those questions, a huge thanks to our board of directors, our volunteers, our executive director, Jose Reyna, and our nearly 500 members. We're so close. If you can help us get there, that's our goal to reach right now. And if you become a member, you'll help us reach that. And then all of our sponsors who are making products to help design and make your home more sustainable and give you, like Ream, to decarbonize and achieve sustainability goals. Um, so Judy, going back to the garage,
Mhm.
there was a big discussion on this, and it
Oh,
was
I bet there's
I,
always a discussion about the garage, and it's
yeah,
usually
yeah, and I
some,
learned
yeah.
something. And so the question was, have you ever heard of the concern? And I never heard of this, where without that step up, the people who are, still on the fossil gas cars, we'll call them, who are still using those, many of us are, uh, the concern is that, at least according to these individuals, that maybe some local codes require you to have that step up because they're claiming that the gas emissions, the carbon monoxide and toxic emissions from the cars can't overcome that step. And we know
Mhm.
that they can, but there are certain ones, the more dangerous ones, carbon monoxide, which sinks low. If there is a zero step, it has a higher chance of getting pulled into the house. So have you ever heard
Sure.
anything like that?
I haven't either, but it's believable, right?
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that. And maybe there's something
Hmm.
I'm not aware of that is put in place from a ventilation standpoint or a
Yeah.
draft pull standpoint that I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
That's a really great point. And I have
Yeah.
a few people I can't wait to ask that to.
Yeah. And we've got plenty of, zero step garages we've seen around here. Now, I don't know if all those folks are
Mhm.
EV users, but typically the code officials don't care what kind of car you're using. They don't base their
Right.
regulations on it. So I do know one solution, and Lead offers a point for this, is you can put a fan in the garage so that when the garage goes up, it turns the fan on, or when the sensors detect the pollution, it turns the fan on. Now, somebody else
Okay.
pointed out, though, that they said if there's a fire, there's some kind of chimney effect, and so you need to have the fan have a heat sensor to turn off. So I don't know anything about that either. So it's
This is interesting. I
yeah,
believe all of it. I'll have to ask
yeah,
my coworker who helped write the zero step guidelines, and she has a zero
yeah,
step home, and like I said, has lived there for 15 years. And I'm going to ask her about this and see. I think it's going to depend on where you live or who's inspecting or who's your code enforcement. But that's
yeah,
a really valid concern.
yeah, yeah, yep. And it's what we call the green building trade-offs, right? There's one
Yeah.
benefit, but one problem that comes up, and how do you solve them all? So,
Mhm.
um, so I just, trying to see what other kind of specific, and unfortunately our Q&A section, which people normally put questions in, is no longer working for me. So it's all in the comments, which is bundled in with all the other commentary. And people are providing all sorts of great
You may
ideas and
be able to
comments.
see the.
Yeah.
Oh, I see the chat. I see the Q&A questions and not the
Yeah.
chat. So I
Oh, if
can
you can see
I
them, go
can
ahead and
answer
answer
some
them
of
because I
these.
can't see them anymore. So,
Yeah. One of them is my sister and I built a zero step home. At the entrances, it's a challenge to find an entry rug that is low enough to allow the door open. That is a problem now and then for sure. And we have found one here and there. It's trial and error, ordering off Amazon to try to find something that's, going to stay in place and is low enough. Something that's worked well for us is a product. These are just carpet tiles from the company called Floor, Flor. And it doesn't look like a throw rug, unfortunately, but you can put 4 to 6 tiles there, and they're really low, and the doors typically go over them. So it's worth a try. Yeah, they'll give you a free tile to try, carpet tile. You can see if that works. But I no longer can see the chat. Oh no, I got it back. I'm so sorry. Uh, next question is per ANSI A117.1 in the year 2000, code added 18-inch vertical grab bar next to the toilet to assist someone to stand from being seated. And architects routinely ignore this as it is not an ADA requirement. And we did touch on that a little bit. So I don't know if it's a question, if more than a comment, but
Yeah, and
yeah,
you
you
can,
were
if it's a
right.
comment, you can skip through that. So, yeah.
Yes. And here's another comment about the garage. Would it work to have a zero threshold entry to garage if there's a trench drain along the connection between the garage and the rest of the home? It might. It might. I have not seen that. Somebody else has answered this. The garage floor be lower. Requirements for the garage side to be sloped. Yeah, it's hard for me to comment on that because it's getting a little more technical than my OT brain can respond to. But I think that's great commentary. Do
Um,
you?
there was another question about the garage about a zero, or well, not even the, well, yeah. So about something about, and I think this is more about water issues, saying, have you seen anything about trench drains with a grate along the connection between the garage and the rest of the home?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I feel like
Mhm.
that could work, but not knowing anything about code and what have you, I can't answer that.
Well, and let me ask you this, like, have you, maybe this is a broader question, where have you seen code itself come into dispute with, especially on a new build, the zero step applications? I mean, I certainly can see on these sort of flat, homes, water. I can certainly see a water kind of concern where you don't have that sort of step up, right? But anything else like that?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm typically not involved at that level.
Sure.
So apologies. Should I answer the next question about do you provide a small gap between the stove and cooktop and the adjacent counter so that scalding water from a pot that boils over does not run across the counter onto one's lap? That is a really great idea, actually. I haven't recommended that in kitchen design, but I can see where that is a fantastic idea. And I think that I might start recommending that. Thank you for that, Emery. And then from Catherine, most of the homes I design are on slopes other than multiple ramps. What do you suggest? We like ramp scaping whenever possible. What that means, incorporating your gradually sloped sidewalks or walkways into your landscaping. Um, Maybe it's too late for that and they're already built and multiple ramps. We like walker steps, if you've ever heard of those. If people are not a seated user, walker steps are easy to incorporate into more slopey. Um, it's kind of like what you saw in my house, even though that's not what they're supposed to be. That's kind of what walker steps look like, great big wide platform type things. Let's see if we have any more here. Zero step is always a challenge when a developer wants to include a basement. Do you have construction tips for a non-slab on-grade homes? I don't. That doesn't mean that there's not something that I can try to find to answer that for you. It's hard for me to answer more builder
And,
specific questions.
and wouldn't it be fair that if ultimately your intent is to have an accessible home, that you're really having to limit what goes in the basement, right? Because
Right.
obviously, unless you have an elevator, and maybe you could speak to elevators briefly and where those come into play. I certainly know
Yeah.
money is your first barrier,
It
but
is. It is.
um,
And
yeah,
we worked with a couple people who were wanting to put an elevator in and wanted
right.
their piece. Michigan people love their basements. They really do. We're used to putting all of our stuff down there.
Yeah.
So I don't have any tips for that other than often we just people will include it and we'll be like, that's not going to be zero step, but okay.
Yeah, and I want to know that here I think zero step and building science really come well together because from a building science standpoint, a basement is nothing but something that just wastes your energy and ends up becoming a mold factory. So I really appreciate zero step advising on uh, uh, slab on grade because I think anytime you can get rid of a basement, I really believe you're heading in the right direction. Plus, it helps cut costs, and right now everything is unaffordable. So,
Right. And I there's a few different types of elevators that
hmm,
we recommend, but they
hmm,
are pricey and they require a bit of space on a new build.
yeah.
And they're not that easy to incorporate. And it's very hard to incorporate into an existing build, but I mean, we've done it. It's just it's hard. So let's see. We talked a little bit about elevators. Catherine, I don't have a whole lot of information on that. Looks like another question. Condos and townhomes advertised as ideal downsizing, but they're full of stairs. I know that. I'm looking for a house right now and I can't find anything that's not full of all of that. Let me tell you, when we pull up to a tri-level or a bi-level to modify it, we just, groan. But outside of adding an elevator, how do you encourage alternative design initiatives for developers in the early stages? I guess I just want everybody to stop thinking that levels are cool. Stop. I want designers to stop. Um, Everybody loves a good mid-century modern with the sunken living room, but let me tell you, those are so hard to modify. So I just think that we have to just keep designing more homes that are just one level and make it inherently beautiful and cool and accepted right from the get-go. And then as the stock of homes increases like that, people will just be like, that's what's out there. That's all anybody wants. And I don't know, maybe we'll just move the mark that way.
Well, Judy, I know you need to get going, so I guess can you
Yeah,
just give us?
unfortunately, I do. You can share my contact information if anybody wants to reach out for some more questions. I'll do my best to answer them from the functional standpoint and the universal design standpoint.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll share out the resource. I think your Zero Step 2.0 program was last updated in 2016, right? Is that still the correct one?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm making sure I had the right one, so
I
I
don't
will
really
share.
recall it being called 2.0, but we can talk about that after this. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, okay. Well, anyway, Judy, thank you so much. Judy Seeger, Disability Advocates.
thank
Check
you.
them out if you haven't yet. It's disabilityadvocates.com, correct? .org.
DAKC.us.
.us.
That's
Okay.
our website.
Thank you. So
Mhm.
check them out. And Judy, thank you so much. And thank you all. We will catch you at our webinar next week. So goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Be sure to check out all of our courses available online that you can watch anytime and anywhere to pick up your CEUs. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube to get weekly updates and stay up to date on green building science courses, webinars, and home tours. Thanks again.